My name is Bagu, and this is me building a billion-dollar business in public. My firm is currently almost at $10 million in annual recurring revenue, so we've only got 990 million to go. So let's get straight into the video. Now, as always, we're going to start with a YouTube Q&A, where I'm going to be answering your guys' questions that you leave in the form of comments on YouTube. So if you want to ask me a question, just leave a comment right down below this video. Then we're going to get into the main topic of today's video, which is tech actually dying? And last but not least, we're going to get into strategizing. If this is your first time seeing me, I have a main channel called Bago Official. You can check that out. It will be in the link in the description below. So on top of that, let me just give you a quick little introduction as to who I am and why you should even listen to me in the first place. So in 2017, part of a robotics team, I was the head team strategist as well as the sub-team leader of simulation analysis as a developer. We won the Los Angeles Regional from my robotics team, and then later went to UCLA and joined the Elegance Mind Club, which was to research human consciousness. From then on, I went into NASA as a computer engineer, and then I went to the Fortune 500. During this time, I was studying electrical and computer engineering at UCSD, and in my junior year of university, I was already working as a software engineering consultant for Fortune 500, making 6 figures. During this time, I went from junior to manager in 3 years' time, after which I quit to found my own consulting firm, AB Analytics, as you're familiar with. I skipped a lot of wins and even more losses, so for all of those information, check out my personal website, about.co2co.com. So without further ado, let's get started with the YouTube comments. Okay, let me refresh the page to make sure we've got everything on point. Okay, we've got 2 questions, so let's see. Dry Acer, okay, I thought that said Dry Eraser. So Dry Acer asks, hey Bago, I'm currently a data analyst and my wife is a software engineer. I found your AB Analytics consulting very interesting. My wife and I are interested in building something very similar where I generate insights and identify core business problems, and she creates software solutions to solve those problems for those businesses. Do you think it's a good business model to move forward with? I'd love to hear your advice. I'm just going to call you Dry. Well, Dry, there's one thing you want to watch out for. 2 things, I would say. First and foremost, it's with regards to identifying core business problems. Just because you identify a business problem does not mean that a software solution is what's needed. Not only is what's needed, but also will it be the best solution that you can at this current moment provide. What I mean by that is think of puzzles, right? Sometimes puzzles you have in a form of, let's say, a triangle or a rectangle. You know those kids' toys where the kids have to kind of like match the shape and then put it inside. Whenever you have any type of a problem, say a triangle, and you instantly think of a software solution, what you're doing is making an extremely big generalization. If a software in this case represents a circle, the circle should go in a slot for a circle, not in a slot for a triangle, and not in a slot for a rectangle. Now, can it still technically fit in the slot of a rectangle? Yes, it can. Can it still maybe fit in the slot of a triangle if it's small enough? Yes, it can also. However, that does not mean it's the perfect fit. What I mean by that is there might be problems that you come across that a service would simply be better, or maybe a physical product would even be better, right? So don't always assume that you need to have a software solution. That's number 1. The second thing, when it comes to you being a data analyst, when you're going to be marketing this type of a business, you need to be extremely careful with the technical jargon. So this is actually one of the things I had immense trouble with, and it's cost me a lot of months and so much money down the drain, because when I first started AB Analytics, I kept using technical jargon. I kept asking people about data analytics, if they wanted data analytics services. I kept using fancy words like linear regression in my sales calls, all these things. And people would run away at the speed of light from me, because not only did they not understand what I was saying because they were not technical, but they associated with a scam, because people fear what they do not understand. They do not like unfamiliar things. So what I had to learn was to break down data analytics and all of the things that I was doing from a technical standpoint to base it on an outcome-specific cases. Meaning, instead of I'll do data analytics through linear regression, blah, 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 I say, we'll take a look at the data that you have. If you don't have data, we'll help you set up data intake systems to gather the data, and we'll use that data to make smarter business decisions. And then testimonial. Here's what I mean by that. That's how you have to go about it. When you do that, oftentimes you will see that a software isn't necessarily the best solution. You can make a software for it, but maybe a service-based, hyper-personalized, hands-on solution would be more beneficial for the business and also for you. So that's really my advice. In terms of the business model, I mean, it's great. It can 100% work. I'm literally doing it right now in Los Angeles. So you can definitely move forward with it, but do be wary of these two things that I pointed out. Don't limit yourself to a software solution. Only do create a software solution if that is actually the best fit, meaning it's a circle to a circle. And when it comes to the marketing, when you're going to generate insights and identify core business problems, do not approach from a technical standpoint. Be careful of technical jargon. You as a data analyst are going to be extremely technical. Most non-technical individuals are not going to understand you. Thank you for the question. Hopefully that was enough of an answer. Let me know if you want me to elaborate. Mike. So Mike asks, hi, Bigo, just graduated CS and feeling really lost about career direction. I'm torn between starting an AI service-based business immediately versus getting 9-to-5 experience first to learn industry practices. With AI moving so fast, I can't tell solid career moves from fleeting trends. Should I focus on backend engineering, foundational ML, or ops infrastructure? The job market seems unpredictable. Which technical skills offers the highest long-term value? I'm completely open to the direction I want to invest my time wisely. What's your take on your best approach? Well, Mike, first off, thank you for the question. And let me just tell you, I understand the situation you are in, because if you just graduated CS, you're about 21 to 23 range, right? And now you actually met with the most important 3 years of your life, because if you don't have your shit figured out by 25 years old, it's going to get even tougher, right? Basically, you graduate college and you have 3 years to become hyper successful. If you don't become hyper successful, well, shit hits the fan, so to say, for the lack of a better word. But so I definitely understand the situation you're in, and I know it's a hard one. So let's take a look at this one by one. And actually, I just realized the same topic as what I was going to talk about is tech actually dying. So I'm just going to fuse the two together, and let's talk about that, Mike. First and foremost, about you starting an AI service-based business immediately versus getting a 9-to-5. Let's take a look at the cons and pros of a 9-to-5. And I'm just going to put entrepreneur. There you go. When I say I am against 9-to-5, and when I keep telling software engineers to get into entrepreneurship, I don't mean I wholeheartedly tell everybody, quit all your 9-to-5s, never work a 9-to-5 in your day-to-day life. Because if that was the case, if everybody did that, I wouldn't have any employees. A 9-to-5 should only be a stop on your journey, not the final destination, okay? Entrepreneurship needs to be the final destination. What I am passionate about and what I essentially get people to understand is that a 9-to-5 should never be your final destination. It should only be a stop on the journey, helping you to either learn something, experience something in some shape or form, helping you grow or make you money, okay? Entrepreneurship should be your final destination. So if you've not had any 9-to-5 experience whatsoever, you'll be surprised to hear that I'm not going to say go straight into entrepreneurship. You should only go straight into entrepreneurship if your unique advantage actually allows you to. Meaning, you have something in your network, that's a W. You have something in your network, something in your location, or something in your experiences that make you a perfect fit to get into entrepreneurship right off the bat. Because you're young, you haven't had any work experience. I don't know what other type of life you've lived, but if your life does allow you to get into entrepreneurship, then you can. Now you might be asking, okay, how do I know? Like, what do I need to have to get into entrepreneurship? Generally speaking, there's really, I would say, 2 skills that you need to have to get into entrepreneurship. First and foremost, you need to have some type of pain or stress tolerance built up. If you're not good at handling stress or pain, I would delay it for now. Second thing that you need to have is something of value to provide. This does not mean you need to be technically brilliant. This just means you need to have something in your network, your location, or your experience that you can provide to somebody and they can make money off of that. And you can make money as a direct byproduct of it. Okay? These are the only 2 contentions. Most individuals coming straight out of university, they will go to a 9-to-5 route where they will learn a lot, right? At least at the bare minimum, they will learn that they hate the 9-to-5. I usually recommend, if you're a fresh grad, to start at a startup. But what's going to determine this is what you want out of your life. Now, since you're already considering between a business and 9 to 5, that tells me in the future you do want to have a business. That tells me in the future you do want to have the freedom, the autonomy, the money, all those things. So as a result, I would highly recommend you either look into getting into a startup as an employee or creating your own if you feel like you have a decent enough advantage with your unique advantage. Okay? In terms of a startup, why a startup? Because you're going to wear many different hats. You're going to learn a lot. And most fundamentally, you're going to learn about communication. Stuff is going to crash and burn. You're going to be under stressful situations, but it will be a very good learning experience. And at the bare minimum, you'll still have a consistent paycheck. You'll get some experience. I would stay at the startup for 1 to 2 years maximum, unless you see there's a chance of potential equity and a potential upside. And then I would leave and do your own thing. 1 to 2 years at a startup, essentially learning from other people's failures, can save you years ahead of time. Now, once again, the caveat is, if you feel like already you're positioned well enough to get into a business, you most definitely should. Can you succeed without having this and getting into business? Yes, you can. Is it probable? No, it's not. Okay? So that's why I don't want to make you shy away from it, but I have to give generalized advice because you're asking me this question. I don't want other people to watch this video and think, okay, I'm going to dive straight into business with no experience whatsoever. Okay? You can do it. It's just not as probable if you don't have experience beforehand, or at least something to your name. Now, if you don't have any financial constraints or anything that's part of your unique advantage, you can get into it, right? That's what I mean. The second, with AI moving so fast, I can't tell solid career moves from fleeting trends. Should I focus on backend engineering, foundational ML, or ops infrastructure? So all of these are going to be multi-billion-dollar industries anyways. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. I wouldn't worry about the technical stuff in detail. What I would worry about is as follows. So the concept of tech is dying, right? You've seen that a lot with all these layoffs. But this isn't necessarily true. I think it's more appropriate to say tech is evolving. What that means is the Fortune 500 companies, I should say the Fortune 100 companies that are, trillions of dollars, billions of dollars, have decided the direction that tech is moving. Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, Facebook, these tech giants have decided the direction that tech is moving. What ends up happening is we're seeing some of these big guys, they're bleeding. So this isn't a sign that tech as a whole is dying. It just means tech is evolving and leaving room for smaller startups. So all AI is really doing right now is you had big corporations with, let's say, upwards of 100,000 plus employees, right? Now you can have similar startups with similar growth potential, similar annually recurring revenue, with probably less than 100 individuals and all AI agents. Okay? So the future is smaller and smaller businesses with way smaller founder lists, right? Maybe I would say 1 to 10 individuals per startup. And you will see them doing crazy numbers, millions, multiples of millions in annually recurring revenue. You already saw this with Cursor, right? You saw this with Lovable, all these companies within a record amount of time, and each one kept breaking a record after record. 100 million in annually recurring revenue with a team of less than 25 people, right? Which is beforehand, it used to be unheard of. So this is all that's really happening. Tech isn't dying, it's just evolving. And for you, you have to evolve with tech. So instead of now the main hype being FANG like it used to be for the past 20 years, let's say, now it's shifting more towards the startups, more towards these type of unicorns, right? And of course, people setting up their own businesses. So in terms of what skills you need, instead of hyper-focusing on one singular one, I would focus on complementary ones. So if, let's say, you're going to dive into AI, right? You're going to foundational ML, let's say you're going to get into foundational machine learning. Pair that with something that can be used. Off the top of my head, since I was an electrical engineering degree, I knew that if software doesn't work out, I can always go law side and I can become, let's say, a patent lawyer, okay? With foundational ML, there's a lot more you can get into. Now, I'm not talking about like lawyer or something like that. I mean, sure, you can think of it that way too, but that bridge is way too wide. You can think even narrower in terms of that. Foundational ML, okay, but applied to what specifically? Maybe what type of business, what type of industry, with what type of a, front end, back end type of thing, right? That's what I mean. Have two complementary skill sets that can work together. If you're doing foundational ML, pair something with it that will make you at least somewhat specialized in the sense that you have a unique advantage in it. The job market itself, right? Which technical skills offers the highest long-term value? Well, I can tell you what's not going to be as valuable. I can tell you that anything with regards to copywriting, front-end development, hell, even back-end development, right? All of these are going to lose software engineers. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to need any individuals anymore in these. They're still going to need individuals in them. It's just way less than before because AI is going to take majority of the workload off of their hands. So in the simplest way I can explain this is think of the IQ bell curve. Most individuals fall under this line. And the jobs that we've had thus far have sort of followed this exact trend. But what AI is going to do now is it's going to do this. It's going to shift the bell curve to the right, meaning the jobs that will be now higher paying or the base IQ that will be required for these jobs is going to increase, but people aren't going to magically get smarter. So as a direct result, you're going to have less and less people being able to actually qualify for these jobs. So this is why the layoffs are happening and all these things are happening, is because AI is replacing them. Now, you're still gonna, if you end up on this bracket, you're still gonna do fine in terms of a 9 to 5, in terms of payment, right? Of course, you're still gonna have all the drawbacks and negatives of a 9 to 5. But fundamentally speaking, if you can place yourself here, which is why I say, if you're gonna learn, let's say, machine learning, foundational ML, try to see how you can tie it into a business, okay? Maybe if you're studying foundational ML, learn a little bit about marketing, sales, funnel breakdowns, advertisements, right? Foundational ML and advertisements, how to analyze data from, let's say, a Facebook ad or things like that. You don't know where that can lead you, right? But that's what I mean by complementary skills. So in your specific perspective, what you should do as of this moment is first and foremost, ask yourself what you want out of life. Now, I know as a 22-year-old or a 23-year-old, you might not have an immediate answer. But what I want you to do is sort of be able to paint a picture. Where do you want to live? Who do you want to live with? What do you want to drive? What type of house do you want to be in? Do you want to have the freedom? Do you want to have a boss? Do you not want to have a boss? Based on the answer to these questions, you're going to have multiple paths available to you, right? And based on that, you're going to have to choose where you want to go. If you absolutely cannot tolerate working for somebody else because of blah, 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 then you can get into a business right now. If you have no contention with, in the short term, working for somebody else, learning, getting paid to learn because it's your time to learn now, and especially if you don't have any unique advantages, I recommend going the startup route. Apply to work for a startup. Get into that, wear multiple hats, learn, and actually see the stress and carry that over into a business later. But fundamentally, whatever choice you're going to have to choose is going to be dependent on what you want. If you don't care about business, if you don't care about financial freedom, none of these things, just go the 9 to 5 route. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Fundamentally, what is wrong though is if you want these things out of life and you still continue treating the 9 to 5 as your final destination instead of a stop on your journey. And that's when I have a problem with it, okay? But fundamentally, if you don't care about these things and you want to go to 9 to 5 route, go the 9 to 5 route. Nowadays, I feel like there's way too much emphasis on you have to start a business, you have to start a business. But if you don't want to start a business, if you don't think that way, if you don't care about the freedom, if you don't care about all the things that a business gives you, don't start a business. Why are you doing it, right? You should only start a business is if you're feeling adventurous, if you want these things out of life, if you want the extra money, the extra time, the freedom, all these things. But if you don't want that, if you're content with a 9 to 5, you're already living a great life, then don't do it. So don't let the world force you into doing something you don't necessarily want to do because you think it's the right way or it's the right thing. I have my own personal biases, right, with regards to what I think about entrepreneurship and how I truly think it's the meaning of life, because we're all created as creators, so we need to create. But I'm not going to place, my beliefs on other individuals like that and tell them you need to get into a business. I'm just going to say I think you should at least try it once. So in your specific case, once again, whatever you decide to focus on, have a complementary skill to go alongside with it. I highly recommend focusing on a business skill because that's going to get you the highest ROI. In terms of consultancy, creating a consultancy or getting 9 to 5 experience first, depends on what you want. Personally, in your specific case, I would recommend joining a startup because you're going to want to start a startup later. Join a startup, get paid to learn, okay? And job market wise, once again, it's probably going to be difficult landing a job in the short term and in the long term as well. But I can tell you what's going to be required of people are going to be fundamental AI skills. So not only learning about AI, but also learning how to work with it. And in the near future, with the direction that everything is going in, just remember the IQ bell curve. So the jobs are just going to be harder in general and require more IQ. So the higher you go on this scale, I mean, the more right you go on this scale, the better it's going to be for you. So in general, just keep that in mind. Perfect. Thank you for the question, Mike. Hopefully that was a concise answer. If you want me to expand on any of the topics or any of the points that I made, please do let me know. I believe that were all the questions. Let me refresh. Perfect. Okay, so let's get into a little bit of an analysis. I think the most recent video that I posted was a 1 of 10. Oh, it became a 2 of 10. But we dialed in on the thumbnail style. This is what we're going to experiment with for now. I will change it up later if I see that, it's not doing too well. In terms of our click-through rates are still relatively horrendous, but we are getting decent enough impressions at least. So we definitely still need to improve the title and the thumbnails. It's just going to take a little bit of time since it is a new channel to kind of solidify on the type of style that I want to go with. Outside of that, for the main channel, you will see big video dropping soon. And then tomorrow, which will be the 7th, September 7th, we're going to dive into the cold email campaign. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you in the next one. As always, thank you for watching.